Phoenix.ca is leading the way in men's digital health in Canada. Did you know that 52% of men have experienced some form of erectile dysfunction? Phoenix offers a discreet online solution by connecting you with a licensed Canadian doctor who can prescribe you with the treatments you need. You can decide on which treatment works best for you, whether you want to plan ahead or be prepared for something more spontaneous. The process is simple. Just go to phoenix.ca, complete the online quiz, and Phoenix will connect you with a licensed physician who can prescribe you with treatments such as brand name or generic Viagra and Cialis. No more uncomfortable visits to your family doctor, no more waiting in line at the pharmacy. Phoenix delivers your treatment in discreet packaging directly to your door. And right now, Phoenix is offering a 100% discount on your consultation. That's right, Mind Picker listeners. You'll get their consultation with a licensed Canadian doctor completely free. Visit phoenix.ca today and start your journey to a more confident you. That's phoenix.ca, phoenix.ca. Rise again with Phoenix. Hey everybody, today I'm talking to a professional wrestler that has a big match in Red Rock Wrestling March 8th against Charlie Hubley, and that man is Bradford Gillis, or to others, Bradford Montague.
Hey, Brad, how are you?
Good, you?
Oh, I'm real good.
Thanks for being on the show today, first off.
My pleasure. Happy to be here. I'm on the road. I'm in Cornwall right now. I left Toronto this afternoon. I'm heading back to PEI.
Awesome. You're originally from the island, correct?
Yeah, I'm from Montague, Prince Edward Island, like my namesake. I grew up there and then moved to Toronto back in 2011 for school, and then I started going to wrestling school while I was up there, and the rest is history. I stayed up there for 10 years, and then during the pandemic I moved back home, and now I'm bouncing back and forth.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's funny, we grew up not very far from each other because I grew up in Cardigan.
And yeah, so I guess technically I grew up in Pools Corner, which occasionally was considered Cardigan, but is now not considered Cardigan. So the municipal jurisdictions flip-flop a little bit, but we're in the grand scheme of things, we're basically next door neighbors.
Yeah, pretty much. And in a fun little tidbit of information, I had Justin Shaw on my podcast earlier, and you've been on his Half Star podcast.
Yeah. Me and Justin go way back as well. We he and I are basically next door neighbors too. We were two of the single digit boys born in New Perth. There were very, very few people in general, but even fewer people our age in New Perth. The population's pretty low. He's got a great bit about it in his stand-up routine.
Yeah, if anyone's listening that hasn't heard Justin, make sure to check that out.
Yeah, Justin's hilarious.
How did you get into wrestling? What made you want to go to wrestling school?
Yeah, so I wasn't really a wrestling fan when I was growing up. I was familiar with it because it was obviously it was huge in the 90s. So a lot of my peers were into it. And my cousins had the N64 game, WCW Revenge. And so I was familiar with that game, and my other friends growing up were fans. My other friends growing up were fans, but I never had the channel, so I never had really an opportunity to watch it. But then one evening, when I was in high school, me and my mom, we wanted to go see a movie, but there was nothing in. But it was a Sunday night, and the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view was on. It was a Punjabi death match. So we thought, oh, hey, we'll go check that out. And it was an incredible experience. They were showing the pay-per-view live in the theater, and it was cool to see how engaged the fans were in the audience of the movie theater. Like people were out of their seats, yelling and screaming, cheering, going nuts. And so like it was cool to like I didn't realize how much of a connection the fans had to all these characters. So I found that really fascinating. And then over the years, I'd start watching more and more. And when I went to college, I went for fitness and health promotion, and I enjoyed being athletic. I enjoyed being in the gym, but I wanted to do something a little more theatrical. I enjoyed the theatrics, and I started street performing in Toronto when I was in college to make some extra cash. And so I got a taste of what it was like to perform in front of a live audience, to get that instant gratification of people clapping and saying, "Hey, you're awesome. Oh, hey, you're hilarious. Hey, you made my day." And so I thought the only way to extrapolate that and expand it is to do something bigger. And I started looking for wrestling schools, and I found one, Squared Circle Training. And I showed up one day, gave it a try, and fell in love with it immediately and stuck with it. It's one of the few things I've stuck with for an extended period of time.
What was the first day of training like, stepping in there?
Oh, so it was, I didn't know what to expect at all. The first person I met was Kobe Durst. At the time, his name was his real name is Adam Durst. At the time, he was going by Marty Michaels, and he currently goes by Kobe Durst. He's gone through a metamorphosis, and he was a 16-year-old kid at the time. So it was weird to see this 16-year-old kid in the mix with all these adults learning to train, and myself. So the first few classes, it was mostly just like learning to roll, learning some footwork, in-ring drills. Like we didn't hit the ropes, we didn't do bumps, we didn't do any moves. It was all just like learning how to lock up, learning how to do a somersault, and that was it for probably the first at least month. And then we started learning how to take back bumps and front bumps, and learned how to give suplexes. So it was a slow, gradual build up and learning experience. But then it all, like Karate Kid, wax on, wax off, it all starts to piece itself together. And yeah, no, every step of the way, like even like in the early days, just doing the somersaults, even when we couldn't really see where that was taking us, I knew that this is what I want to do.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'd love to have something like that around here. It would have been great.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So in that school, are you also learning promo work too, or is it all just physical?
At that time, it was mostly physical. They like maybe once or a couple times a month we would do promo work. And every few months they'd bring in a coach to, like, a special guest to teach how to do promos. Like one day they brought in Arda Okal, who was he was one of the hosts of the Sportsnet WWE, like I forget what his show was called, but they would review the WWE show, like the Smackdown or Raw that day, and he was on TV every week. I forget what the name of the show was. I'm embarrassed, but yeah, Arda Okal. If you were watching WWE in 2012, you know who he is. But if not, yeah, he was a Canadian wrestling host. But anyway, they brought him in to teach us how to do promos. And they'd bring in other guys from the indie scene and other former WWE guys to do seminars and give us their take on the business.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Were you an outgoing kid growing up? Like, were you always wanting to perform, or?
That's kind of a complicated. It's kind of complicated because I do feel like I was. I feel like I was shy, but I had moments where I knew how to turn it on and be a performer. But I never really I wasn't into like drama. Like I didn't do school plays or anything. But I would take improv classes, and like at youth group I would do skits and stuff, and I enjoyed doing that. But in general, like I wouldn't consider myself a theater kid, but I also when I compare myself to other wrestlers around the country and US, I like maybe I am a theater kid, like because a lot of those guys have athletic backgrounds, like they play football or they play or they're on track and field, but that's even further from me. So like I'm sort of a weird hybrid of neither. Like I'm not I'm not an athlete, I'm not a drama kid. But I am an entertainer. Like I figured out how to do my busking gig downtown on my own, and I've become successful at that. So like maybe I'm a natural performer, but it wasn't something I necessarily desired growing up.
Okay. Yeah, I totally get that. As a kid, I was kind of like a quiet kid too. Like I don't know if I'd say shy, but I was definitely quiet. But then if I was in drama class or something like that and we were doing a play, like I wasn't shy for that time. But then as soon as it was over, I was back to being quiet again.
Yeah, you knew how to turn it on.
Yeah, exactly. So how long were you in wrestling school before you got to have like your first match?
So I started training September of 2012, and I had my first match probably November probably summer 2013. So almost a year before I had my first match. And in some ways, I kind of wish I waited even longer just to build up even more confidence. There's different schools of thought. A lot of people say, oh, you learn more just doing it and like being in the ring at shows in front of a crowd. That's how you learn. And then other people say, oh, you should wait till you're fully ready, and you should be a complete package the first time you go out. And so I see the merit of both, but I do wish I had waited maybe like a couple more months before I had my first match. My first match was at the Stormont County Fair just outside Ottawa, and it was fine. It was a good enough match. It was against Dean, but yeah, I had my first match against him, and he Damian Styles, that's his ring name. And he led me through it, and he's a tremendous athlete and a great wrestler. And so like he carried me through the whole thing, and it was a very fun, exhilarating experience. And but I feel like had I waited a few more months, I might have been able to I might have had a little more confidence being out there. But anyway, I learned lots in those early matches, and it definitely helped me out. And there are things you don't learn in wrestling school that you learn in front of the people.
Right. I bet it was kind of like an addiction after that first match, was it? Like being in front of a crowd and everything. So
absolutely. It when you I got fans out here. I'm at Wendy's in Cornwall, and people see it. People see me with the ring light and they're gawking. Sorry.
No, that's awesome.
Um, sorry, what was the question?
It must be kind of like an addiction.
Oh yeah,
Being in the ring.
absolutely. To be out there and hear people like cheering for you and booing, like uh, to do anything and get that big of a reaction, good or bad, is so exhilarating. And the fear you experience before going out the curtain, like that first time, like it's scary, but then and so you get like this adrenaline rush, and then you do it, and then when it's over, and like it's hard to describe, but the relief of having done it is incredible, and it's the same with Spider-Man. Like I do the Spider-Man busking, and it's spooky going out the first time and getting suited up, and but when you're out there and people are just uh giving you these reactions and uh, telling you how great you are and how awesome you are and how you made their day. Like it's like it's a true, honest feeling that you don't get from many things. And like I guess it probably is like a drug. Like you're getting adrenaline and dopamine and serotonin all up and down,
Right.
and so yeah, it's something I hope everyone gets a chance to experience at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally understand what you mean. What was the hardest part of learning to wrestle for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I still feel like I'm learning lots now. A lot of it, a lot of the difficulties with wrestling, it's just managing um, your own insecurities, I guess. Like I feel like the thing that held me back, and maybe and probably still holds me back, is the how I feel other people perceive me,
Mhm.
and just kind of overthinking what other people think. Um,
Yep.
and so it's hard to so like there've been a few like hallmark moments that I remember that really affected me, and I kind of took too personally, um, and I let those kind of interfere with my progress, um, and I held back too much in the moment and in the months and years following. But I think so. It took a long time, but I feel like now I go out and I don't stress out about what the other people in the locker room think, and I don't stress out about uh, I just try to have more fun and try to enjoy the moment a little bit more. And when you're trying to make it and trying to like blow up, it's hard to focus on having fun. But
Mhm.
once you start just like not caring as much and just start focusing on having a good time and showing the people a good time, it all becomes a lot easier because the moves are all easy. I mean that's an exaggeration. Like it's easy to learn the moves.
Mhm.
Like it affects your body, it hurts and all that, but it's easy to learn those, and it's easy to be in shape. Like I enjoy going to the gym. I enjoy training. So like those things come easy to me. Um, but it's more just the psychological issue of dealing with other people in the locker room.
Right. That's a great way to look at it too, because I'm sure there's so many people that have talent that don't even like show it because
Yeah,
of mentally being held back, like too nervous of what people are thinking and stuff like that. I'm sure it relates to tons of things for people.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so
But
that's a
it's
really great message.
yeah, and at the end of the day, I mean, I feel like it's been said a million times on a million podcasts, but at the end of the day, people are just kind of mostly focusing on themselves and the issues you have with them. They don't think about the next day.
That's right.
And so you can't get hung up on them, and you just kind of you gotta push forward.
Yeah, I've heard something similar. Like, I forget exactly what the saying was, but it was like, if you knew how little people actually thought about you, you wouldn't worry about it, or something to that effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Did you end up with any like bad injuries wrestling?
It's funny. I'm currently dealing with a torn pec.
Oh,
But I've had a torn pec and I've had a torn bicep, but neither were from wrestling. Wrestling is the only thing that I haven't been seriously hurt from, which is bizarre. I tore my bicep busking as Spider-Man. I was lifting someone in my arms and it was a weird angle and they had a slippery outfit and pop, tore my bicep, needed surgery. And then
oh,
I tore my pec in the gym bench pressing.
oh.
And this year, unfortunately, the doctor said it's probably not worth doing surgery. The he says he doesn't think there's going to be like it might not bring any strength back. The surgery will mostly be cosmetic, and at that point, it would keep me out of the ring for 6 to 9 months and be a slow rehab. And I'd still have a scar. I don't mind the scar, but I don't want to be out for that long.
Right.
If there's not going to be any strength benefit.
Right, that makes sense.
I smashed my teeth wrestling. That's the most serious of an injury, but depending on who you ask, that's not a serious injury, but it was an expensive injury.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the pec is the biggest issue, but that happened just before Christmas, and I got back to Toronto the end of January, and I've had about 7 matches since, and I can work around it, but there's definitely some things I need to avoid. Like I gave someone an arm drag, and it strained the pec, and I was like, oh, yeah, I felt that. I'm not going to do those anymore. And then this past weekend, I was in Pittsburgh wrestling, and the guy kicked me in the gut and hooked me for like this butterfly suplex where he underhooks the arms and just launched me. And I felt that one too. So that's another thing I'm going to have to be sure to avoid. But that was that just happened in the moment. He was a big, tough, strong guy, and he just he launched me, and so that one was hard to avoid. But I'll know for the future to if I think that's coming, I better get out of the way.
Absolutely. Did you have any favorite wrestlers growing up?
So yeah, like I said, I didn't really watch wrestling growing up. I was familiar with like The Rock and Stone Cold and Mankind when I was young. I remember I heard somewhere a rumor that Mankind actually killed a man in the ring, and and I believed that like up until I started training. Like that was a belief I had, and that was debunked as an adult after I started wrestling.
Established in November 2015, the Cook's Edge is a retail chef supply store and dealer of hand-forged Japanese knives. They are proud to work directly with small knife makers from Japan to bring the best kitchen tools available to their customers and clientele. They also offer full-service knife sharpening and knife repair with clients from all over Canada and the United States. Their online store, thecooksedge.com, has their full catalog of chef tools, cookbooks, and apparel. Thank you to Cook's Edge for sponsoring this episode.
But I'd say this isn't a popular opinion, But I would say my favorite wrestler growing up, that my two favorite wrestlers growing up in high school were Sheamus and John Cena.
Oh, okay.
Which isn't a popular answer for people who like wrestling and people who listen to wrestling podcasts. But Sheamus, I just thought had such a cool look, and I and as a pasty white guy, I really liked what he was showing the world. And then John Cena, uh, he was just he's just such an incredible person that it's hard to not like him. I
Exactly.
just found him so likable and such a hard worker, and just really he really loved people and life. So and he was in such good shape. He was such an athlete. I just I thought he was cool then, and I think he's cool now. John Cena is my current favorite wrestler. Let's go.
Yeah, I love John Cena. I did as a kid, like watching him. I loved his rapper gimmick when he was in there.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. And then, yeah, just seeing all the good he does. Like, he has the record for the most Make-A-Wish Children's Foundation and stuff. He just seems like a great guy.
Absolutely. And so, like, in hindsight, the guys I like now, like Ric Flair is incredible. Stone Cold was incredible. But those are like guys I respect now that I'm a wrestler. But like the guys I liked as a kid, boom, John Cena, boom, Sheamus.
Yeah. Did any of their, like, watching other wrestlers, their styles influence how you wanted to wrestle?
That's a good question. Yeah, the wrestling I like a lot of Gaga. Like I like the bullshit. Like I'm not into technical wrestling. Like the Chris Benoit types or the Daniel Bryan types aren't really my they're not my jug of piss, as as Caden Felix would say.
Me either.
But so like the Santino types, the Mankind, like I like the funny wrestlers, and I wouldn't call myself a comedy wrestler, but I do try to add a bit of comedy, and like I like to add funny concepts to my matches. I enjoy funny concepts that it doesn't always have to be a pie in the face, but just like I enjoy talking trash to the audience, and so like CM Punk was definitely like he wasn't necessarily talking trash to the audience, but I liked I liked listening to him talk trash to the guys and to the establishment. So like I'd say he might be an influence. He's definitely not a comedy wrestler, but I do like that style, like more dialogue focused.
Yeah, he's great on the microphone.
Oh yeah.
You've done some work on the show Dark Side of the Ring, is that correct?
That's correct. I actually have there's new episodes coming up next week, March 5th. Season 5 starts. This season I play Kevin Von Erich in the Chris Adams episode and Mike Boyette in the Chris Colt episode, and a couple of other various. Oh, and I play Teen Brutus the Barber Beefcake. That's all coming up this season, and then I played Sandman in season 2, and they're all starting to blend together. The show I was in the most was Tales from the Territories, which is a spin-off series of Dark Side of the Ring. It's by the same producers, same directors. But this one's produced by The Rock, and it instead of telling the negative stories, it's more like the legends that the boys told each other backstage.
Okay.
And in that one I played Kevin Von Erich and young Hulk Hogan and Steve Kern, Michael Hayes, and various others. Yeah, so I that one I'm actually one of the top casted characters on, or top casted actors on IMDb, and then Dark Side of the Ring, I'm in a bunch of episodes too. But yeah, that was such an incredible experience to see how the show was made, and to see all. And that was kind of my first glimpse at the film industry too. So to see all the work that goes around, like in my head, I just assume that the actors are the stars. Like, oh, Brad Pitt's the star, but there's so many other people involved, and like the actors are really the least important part of the whole show. And it really made me respect the film industry more. And I met so many cool people, and I've because I got to be in Dark Side of the Ring and Tales from the Territories, I gained some credits and have been able to get other acting gigs since. So that's kind of that's kind of my day job now is actor. That's what I have on my resume. That's my busking is my day job, but so is acting. So whenever I'm at the border, I say, "Oh yeah, I'm an actor."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with Dark Side of the Ring? Did they come to you? Did you go to them?
So the first time I did the show, I was in 2019. That was season 2, and one of the coaches, the head coach of Superkick, Chris Chambers, he actually hooked me up with that role. He was the one casting at that point, and so he booked me to be Sandman. And but then when everything shut down, it felt like all the momentum was gone. Because this was 2022, and so like I didn't have any connections, didn't know anybody, but I knew they were doing more episodes because season 3 they filmed during the pandemic, and it was my buddy Channing Decker and Rob Rage. I could see that they were playing most of the guys. I knew their silhouette, so I could tell which characters they were playing. I was like, man, I wish that was me. I want to be in all these episodes. So when I found out they were going to be filming new ones, I found out who the casting director was, and I filmed myself in the ring at Superkick, and just did like a little wrestling sequence. And I sent it to the casting director directly, and he was like, "Wow, cool!" And he hooked me up. And first, it was just for a background role, like I was a guy in the audience. But and I wasn't gonna. And I did it the one episode, and I was like, "Oh, this is a long, boring day. I don't want to sit in the bleachers anymore." And I was gonna bail on the next day's filming, but then they said, "Oh, our young Hulk Hogan dropped out. Do you want to be Hulk Hogan?" I was like, yeah. So they got me to be young Hulk Hogan, and that was a new addiction to have to. Like I know I said there's a lot of people involved in the film industry, but that in that moment I felt what it was like to be Brad Pitt. And right. Because they brought me into hair and makeup, and like they put like all the makeup on, and got me suited up with a wig. They shaved my face, they shaved my chest, they oiled me up and airbrushed my abs, and I could hear on the microphone from the PA, they said, "Okay, we need Hogan now," and I get escorted onto the set, and like all the extras are sitting in their spots waiting for me. And I walk up on stage, and the director says, "Oh, here's Hogan. Here, take this guitar." And he hands me this bass guitar, and they turn on the smoke machines, and he said, "All right, we need you to play the bass." And 3, 2, 1, action. And so it just felt like, and and I'm wearing these like 7-inch platform shoes, so I'm standing like a foot taller than everyone else. So it was such a like weird moment of being the complete total center of attention, the total star. And I can see how actors let it get to their head. Like that was a cool moment and a cool thing to experience. So yeah, I guess long story short, I sent the casting director a video. I reached out to them and they hooked me up, but they served me well. And after being Hogan, they hooked me up with a whole bunch of roles after that. And so now I feel like I'm part of their team, and I'm getting excited for season 6. I hope they film season 6 this year.
That's such a good show. Anyone who hasn't watched, it is on YouTube. You can watch it there. And Tubi as well, right?
Yeah, I think the first 2 seasons are on Tubi now, and it was on Crave. It's been on, like, it bounces back between all the different streaming services. It was on Netflix for a while, but yeah, the first 2 seasons are on Tubi. Yeah, so and that's free. So watch the free one.
Yeah, it's so good, and you learn so much every episode. It's really, really good.
Absolutely. And yeah, I played Michael Hayes on Tales from the Territories and Dark Side of the Ring. And then when I got to be an extra for Smackdown last August, I got to meet Michael Hayes. So it was cool to meet the person who I was portraying. Oh, and another person I played Ricky Morton in one of the episodes too. So, and I got to meet him at I was an extra at NWA in back in August as well. So I got to meet the 2 people I played.
That's awesome.
So now I got to meet Hogan.
So what were you doing as an extra for Smackdown?
So whenever they come to a new town, they bring in local guys to use for like security or to have an enhancement match or to be a doctor. But unfortunately, like, they brought us in, but they didn't use us for anything. But they used us for seat fillers at the end, because they had they wanted it was Edge's like retirement show, so they wanted it to look packed, and it was packed. Not to say it wasn't packed, but they wanted all the seats filled. But a cool moment at that show, when me and my buddy Pretty Ricky were there, and we were waiting in line to get our medical assessment done, and Edge walked by with the camera crew, and they were filming because it was going to be his like retirement match. This was before he went to AEW, obviously, and so they were making a retirement documentary. And he walked by and he started saying hello to all the extras. Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? And then he pointed at me and he was like, "Love the mullet, brother." So that was a cool moment. That's going to be in his documentary if they ever release it.
Never cutting your hair again.
Exactly. Yeah, so that was a really incredible experience, and I'd love to do it again.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Edge had such great ring gear is one thing I remember from that match too. He had the Toronto Maple Leaf style.
Yeah.
Pants.
That was another cool thing I got to see. I don't want to burst the bubble or show too far behind the curtain, but we got to see the costume designers work on that. So like cool. They had it hanging up in back, and it's just 2 ladies who do who do all the outfits, and so like they were cranking that out like hours before the show started, and like when you look at it on TV, it looks so intricate and beautiful and incredible, but it was like they just whipped it together, and we'll probably never use it again. Like they probably disassembled it. Like it seeing it up close, like you could tell it. Oh, this is just a temporary set piece. Like, and that was another thing I noticed. Like being backstage, it felt a lot like Dark Side of the Ring, And
Okay.
like it felt like I was on a TV show. Like when you watch on TV, like it seems like a big sporting event. It seems very grand, but in backstage, you realize there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. It's a much smaller promotion. It's not a it's a smaller production than it seems.
Oh, wow.
And um, it's hard to describe, but it made everything seem more attainable. Like it made me feel like, oh, I'm not crazy. I can be a part of this. This isn't that far away from what I'm doing now. Even like it's clearly the major leagues, and I don't want to belittle it at all, but just seeing it up close made me realize that it's just another wrestling show. It's just another TV show.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I hope you do make it there someday, because I'm a fan. My son, who just turned 7, is a huge Bradford Montague fan.
Oh, amazing, amazing.
Yeah, he got a picture taken with you in Stratford, and
Right on.
he got your autograph. He has it framed and everything. So, yeah, he's
Incredible.
a huge fan. Yeah.
Well, I hope I can make that autograph valuable for him. I'll if at the next Red Rock show I'll give him another autograph photo so he can keep one, and then he can sell the other one, make $20,000.
Yeah, exactly. Pay his college off.
Yeah.
Going back to the dark side of the ring and territories there a little bit, what's it like having to put yourself in the shoes of another wrestler and like portray their mannerisms and stuff?
Yeah, it's it is a very cool it's very it is cool to kind of like get a taste of what their experience was like you never really truly experience it, but to you gain like a greater respect for the things they've done, and you can appreciate the feats and the scary things that they put themselves through, and it kind of humanizes them in a way, but also makes them seem like it makes them seem even more larger than life. Like when I was playing Kevin Von Erich, he pulled out his tooth with pliers. He was having such incredible tooth pain that like he couldn't take it anymore, and someone suggested, why don't you just yank it out? So like they had me like yank out a tooth, and I'd spill out all this fake blood, and so to kind of to feel that kind of sensation, like obviously I didn't do it, but the you can kind of feel what he would have had to have felt in that moment to make that decision. You kind of realize, oh, these guys are crazy, but they did what they had to do.
Yeah, having to get yourself in their headspace.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they really are. Or I say this as this is a compliment. I learned this from my buddy Caden Felix. He says to be a wrestler you have to be a psychopath, and they really are psychopaths. But that, like, he says that as a term of endearment. Like they're just so serious. They're so hardcore. You to make it, you just gotta do it. You gotta be a psychopath. You gotta pull out your own tooth. You gotta live in your van. You gotta eat just Wendy's patties.
Yep. I've used the same line. I used to work in a kitchen, and people would be like, why do you do that? And I'm like, I guess we're just psychopaths. That's
yeah. Exactly.
It's not the same, but you are in there in the heat and crazy busy nights and stuff. And
absolutely, the heat and cold, like there's never like a comfortable day of wrestling. It's always like you're either in some like poorly ventilated old building that just cooks you alive, or you're in some 100-year-old church basement and you freeze to death. And you're and it's always like a 4-hour drive, 2-hour drive if you're lucky, and or 18-hour drive if you want to get signed somewhere. Like me and my buddy Buck, we drove down to Tennessee and my buddy Pretty Ricky too. We went down to Tennessee, which was that was over 10 hours. I think that was 14 hours.
Wow.
And when I went with Buck, we just went on a whim. We wanted to try to get booked on NWA, so we just like went and showed up. And we told one guy we were coming, but he never responded. But we showed up. The first day they wouldn't let us in, but the second day we were able to spot the guy. Damien, he was Damien Sandow. He former WWE guy, current NWA guy. He coached us at Battle Arts for a semester, and so like we knew him, so we knew if we could get his attention, he'd let us in. And sure enough, he was like, "Oh, hey, good to see you guys. Are you guys coming tomorrow?" And we were like, "Yeah." And so we showed up unbooked with very few connections and managed to go and be extras. So like I like maybe there's a better way, maybe there's a more efficient way, but we're psychopaths, so we go we do it the hard way.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow. Is there any wrestler, living or dead, that you would like to have a dream match with?
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, like I was putting John Cena over hard. I would love to have a match with John Cena. I feel like our styles would blend pretty well. Ric Flair would also be incredible. Just he's had so many iconic matches, but also his matches are all they're all very similar. Like, so I feel like I could have a Ric Flair match on my own. Like,
yeah.
but it would be cool to be in the like be one of the people who's had one of those matches. Like his his iconic match with Ricky Steamboat is like one of the greatest of all time, but it's the same as all the other matches he's had. So I feel like I could have a match as good as his match with Ricky Steamboat. Anyway, but he's such a good, or he was he was such a good worker that he could make anyone look like a superstar. So I would love to have that treatment. I'd love for him to make me look like a superstar.
Yeah, he's so good. And you're right. Every match was the same. Hits the corner, falls on his face, gets thrown off the top rope.
and people ate it up every single time.
Yep. They're almost like waiting for it so they could cheer it whenever he did stuff like that.
Exactly.
Have you worked both as like a good guy and a bad guy, or face and heel?
Yeah, it depends where I go, but I do both.
Okay. What do you prefer?
Heel is more fun. It's hard to be like being a babyface is nice. Like I like being a babyface in Charlottetown for Red Rock. Like I like the people of my home thinking I'm a good guy. But it's fun to be like a snotty, naggy bad guy. Like I feel like I am good at that. and it's fun to like let loose and kind of make fun of the audience and get in their face, and they like it too. Like it's easier to like get them involved and make them feel involved, and I think they appreciate heels who involve them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, like there's guys who have like good matches, like objectively good 5-star matches, but they don't involve the audience.
Right.
And I feel which is it's nice. It's good to watch on YouTube, but these are live events that like people are experiencing this now. So like, how do we make the people enjoy the experience right now? And you got to engage them. And I find it's more fun to engage them negatively. When you're positive, it's yeah, like it's hard to engage them positively, like without being condescending or disingenuous or like you guys rock. I don't. It's just like people don't want that. I feel like people would rather me tell them they suck and so they can boo me rather than me say, "Oh, you rock." And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I always thought it must be easier to be a bad guy than a good guy. Like,
Yeah,
it is easier to insult them than, like you said, try and be a good guy and not sound condescending. Like,
yeah,
you see it in WWE all the time where they're like, okay, this is our good guy, and the crowd's just not buying it.
yeah. And the key to being a good guy is to gain sympathy. And I don't know. I don't want like obviously if you want to be a good guy you need sympathy, but
Yep.
in real life, like in my life, I don't want people to have sympathy for me. I want people to think, "Oh, this guy rules." And so like when you're a baby face, it's you kind of have to you actively need people to sympathize with you.
Right. You need
So
sympathy. You need some sort of obstacle to overcome.
yeah, but in real life, I want people to think, "Oh, this guy." I don't want people to feel sympathy. I want people to think this guy rules. This guy's awesome. And so it's a weird real life and wrestling are it's a tough balance to make, but I don't know. I and the busking adds a whole other dimension to it too. Because when I'm busking, like I'm out on the street, I'm Spider-Man. I'm lifting people up, but they see me, and then they'll see like someone a couple blocks away panhandling, and they assume since we effectively share the same office, they assume we're the same. And so like the panhandler they'll feel sympathy for and give money to, and then they'll try to like they'll want to sympathize with me, but it's like no. I don't want you to feel sympathy for me. I want like I'm here to make your day. I'm here to I want to be the best thing you've seen all day.
Right.
So like that's a whole other dynamic of entertaining in my life that I have to balance with wrestling and with reality.
Before I let you go, my last question. Do you have anything to say to Charlie Hubley?
Charlie Hubley. See, here's the thing. Charlie Hubley, I met him for the first time at ECPW in Cape Breton in 2021. That was just after that was during the shutdowns. That was like right in the thick of it. And so the PEI Nova Scotia bubble was still open. So I could go and come back. So I went to ECPW and I met Charlie Hubley there, and he was, I guess, relatively new. I hadn't heard of him before that, and he had this nice little haircut, and nice clean shaven face, nice young guy, had the glasses on. It sounded kind of like Bubbles from the Trailer Park Boys. And then he sees me, and I'm a big sexy hunk. I got the mullet, I got the muscles. And then 6 months later, I see him maybe more than that, a year later, I see him at Moncton Pro, what is that? North Pro Wrestling, and he's got this big mullet and he's got a mustache. So like he's clearly inspired. He clearly liked what he saw, and now he's like emulating me. But like there's only one Bradford Montague. Like you can imitate me all you like, but you're not going to. That doesn't mean you're going to beat me. Like you can put on a flashy suit, you can grow a sexy mullet, you can grow an average mustache, but that doesn't make you a star, Charlie.
Well, I want to thank you so much for doing this. I know you're going to be super busy with the show coming up, but I had a blast. I love talking wrestling, especially with someone who's actually doing it.
Right on.
And good luck with your match, March 8th.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to get on the show, and I can't wait for everyone to hear it.
Yeah, and we'll be there cheering you on.
I can't wait to see you guys. I can't wait to give your son a big high five.
He will love it.
Right.
All right. Thank you again.
My pleasure. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye. Thanks everyone for listening. If you want to hear more Mind Picker, check out some of my previous shows and follow so you never miss a new episode. Want to help out with the show? 5-star rating would do just that. Bye.